Take your hands, you're going to put your hands behind your back, and then for this exercise over here, all we want to do is get into as much extension of the spine as possible. So we want as much lumbar extension and as much thoracic extension by pressing our bodies up. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of Ask Me Anything. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today's question comes from the Discord server of John Glad Van Dam, aka Obese to Beast, and a member had recently asked, what kind of stretches can I do for achieving a teardrop backbend? Well, that is a terrific question, and I do know a little bit about stretching, so today I'm going to be demonstrating the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for achieving a teardrop backbend. With regard to the exercises, before I get on with them, I first want to explain what exactly a teardrop backbend is and why exactly these stretches are going to be very important in achieving that goal. First of all, most people are not going to be able to achieve a teardrop backbend. What it is, the name as it implies, it is a backward bend of the spine. What you want to do is you're placing your hands behind your feet, and you want to try and get your hands as close to your feet as possible and your hips as close to the sky as possible. So your shape is going to be like a teardrop. Now, with regard to this, there's going to be a lot of tension on the anterior chain of the body. You want to get into a lot of hip extension, lumbar spine extension, also thoracic extension, and you're going to get into a lot of flexion of the shoulders. So what we're going to want to do today is a lot of myofascial stretching for all of the structures on the anterior chain of the body. But without further ado, here are the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for achieving a backbend. The first myofascial stretching exercise for achieving a teardrop backbend is going to be for the rectus femoris muscle, and the reason we're going to be stretching the rectus femoris is because if you look at a teardrop backbend, one of the things is there's going to be knee flexion involved and also hip extension, and one muscle that is involved in both knee extension and hip flexion is going to be the rectus femoris. So we would want to stretch that muscle to be able to get into knee flexion and hip extension. For this one, the knee that's on the ground, that is going to be the leg that we're working, and we're going to be in a half kneeling position. So as if you're in the bottom position of a lunge, what you want to do is you're going to start in your Terminator position, so get on your fists on the ground. Next, from here, the contralateral arm, so the opposite arm of the leg that we're stretching, we want to go ahead and grab a hold of our ankle. From this position, the main thing that we want to focus on is trying to drive the heel toward the glute. So you want to pull your heel toward your glute, and then you want to pull it across to the midline, so toward the butt crack. Now, from this position right over here, once you feel nice and stable, what you want to do is take your hand and you're going to rest it on your thigh and get a little bit taller. We want to maintain retroversion of the pelvis because, again, it does hip flexion and anteversion of the pelvis. So we really want to focus on maintaining maximum retroversion of the pelvis. Once you are in this position, if you feel nice and strong and stable, you're going to take your arm, go into maximum extension of the elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of the shoulder, and then you want to flex the shoulder to the level of the coronal plane, so bicep in line with the ear. You're pressing up with the palm, and then with your body, you have your flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic, your chin is tucked in, crown of the head is pushing up toward the sky, your eyes are looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension, you're pressing up with the palm, driving the heel toward the butt, pulling across the midline, and this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the rectus femoris muscle. Next, the second myofascial stretching exercise for achieving a teardrop backbend is going to be for the psoas major. The reason we're targeting the psoas major is because when you do a teardrop backbend, you want to get hip extension, you also want to get lumbar extension. And with regard to the psoas major, it's going to cause lumbar flexion and also hip flexion. So we would want to counteract those to be able to get into that backward bend. Now, for the psoas major, once again, we're going to be in a half kneeling position, and once again, the knee that is on the ground, that is going to be the actual leg that we are working. So I'm going to go ahead, get into my position. So right now, I'm going to be stretching my right psoas major. First thing we want to do is get into abduction of the femur. We're going to do that by taking the contralateral leg and we're going to place it out, and then we want to translate our hips over to that side to get the abduction of the femur. Next, we want to go into medial rotation of the femur. We're going to do that by taking the ankle and placing the foot outside of the knee, and you want to drive your ankle away from your body. From here, we want to go into retroversion of the pelvis, and then we want to go into hip extension by driving our hips forward. You want to go as far forward as you can without losing the retroversion of the pelvis. So really pay attention to that. You don't want to lose that retroversion of the pelvis. From here, we're going to take our arms, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of the shoulders. At the lumbar spine, we want to do a contralateral side bend by bending away from the side that we're stretching. Then we want to do an ipsilateral rotation by rotating toward the side that we're stretching. At the chin, we want to keep our chin tucked in. We're pushing the crown of the head up toward the sky. Our eyes are looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. With our palms, we're pressing our palms away from our body. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the psoas major. Next, the third myofascial stretching exercise for achieving a teardrop backbend is going to be for the rectus abdominis, and I'm going to be taking you through several different progressions. For this exercise right over here, they're all going to be in a prone position, so you're going to be lying down on your stomach. The easiest one all you're going to do is you are going to be resting on your elbows. Your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders, and then you're going to keep your chin tucked in, crown of the head away, eyes looking down, and then you want to elevate your chest. This is going to be the easiest progression. Then, if you can manage, what you would want to do is straighten out your arms. This is going to be the second progression. If this still feels a little bit easier, you can walk your hands a little bit closer. One important thing worth noting is because the rectus abdominis attaches to the pubic symphysis, you want to make sure that your pubic symphysis is pinned down to the ground the entire time. And this next variation, this isn't part of the myofascial stretching, but for the purposes of achieving a teardrop backbend, it's going to be beneficial. Because the adductors attach to the pubic symphysis, what we could do is spread our legs apart and go into abduction to create more myofascial tension along the rectus abdominis. So we're going to go ahead and spread our legs, and then we're going to flex our knees and go into dorsiflexion and eversion of the ankles. And this is going to be the third progression. Then, if that one is very easy for you and you can still manage it, then the next progression is going to be the all-out myofascial stretching exercise for the rectus abdominis. For this one, you're going to be in a supine position, and it is essentially the bridge. For the back bend, what we want to do, you are getting on the floor, want to take your hands, you're going to put your hands behind your back, and then for this exercise over here, all we want to do is get into as much extension of the spine as possible. So we want as much lumbar extension and as much thoracic extension by pressing our bodies up. And that is the myofascial stretching exercise for the rectus abdominis. Next, the fourth myofascial stretching exercise for achieving a teardrop backbend is going to be for the pectoralis major. For the pectoralis major, we're going to be targeting specifically the superficial fibers. For this one, you are going to be in a supine position, a prone position, meaning you're on your stomach. You want to get onto your stomach. The arm that is laid out to the side, that's going to be the arm that we're stretching. What we want to do to target the superficial fibers, once again, we're going to spread the legs and flex the knees. That way we can create greater myofascial tension along the rectus abdominis, which attaches into the superficial fibers of the pectoralis major. The arm, put it out to the side, and we want to raise it to the level of the glenohumeral angle. If you don't know where that is, depending on your morphology, it's going to be anywhere from 90 to 135 degrees. For the average person, when your arm is straightened out and your palm is at the level of your forehead or even slightly higher, that's going to be the glenohumeral angle. So, we're going to go ahead, arm out to the side, raise it to the level of the glenohumeral angle. We want to pin our shoulder down into the ground with the elbow, maximum extension of the elbow, maximum extension of the wrist, and then maximum external rotation of the shoulder. With our head, we want to take the same side ear, so the ipsilateral ear, we're going to pin it down to the ground, and with the contralateral arm, we're going to flatten it down right under our armpit. Then, from this position right over here, all we want to do is we're going to press with our arm, and we are going to roll onto our side while maintaining our shoulder pinned to the ground. And that is the myofascial stretching exercise for the pectoralis major, specifically the superficial fibers. And then last, the fifth and final myofascial stretching exercise for achieving a teardrop backbend is going to be for the latissimus dorsi muscle. For this one, I'm going to take you through 3 different positions. For each of them, you're going to be in a half kneeling position. So once again, like you're in the bottom position of a lunge, the knee that's on the floor, that's going to be the side of the latissimus dorsi that we're stretching. With this first one, this is the general stretch for the latissimus dorsi muscle. You want to take your contralateral arm and you're going to rest it on the inner portion of your thigh. Then we want to maintain retroversion of the pelvis. We want to do a lateral translation of the thoracic spine. So you're pressing your spine away from the side that we're actually stretching. And then from this part over here, we want to take the ipsilateral arm, maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation. We're going to project the palm forward, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi. That's the general stretch. Then, if we want to target the distal fibers, the contralateral arm, we're going to just rest it on our thigh. The ipsilateral arm, all we're going to do differently is instead of going straight on, we're going to go down and on a 45-degree angle. So we're going to go into depression or a little bit less flexion, and then we're going to adduct our arm and press down on a 45. Everything else is the same. Half kneeling, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar spine, flat thoracic. Project the thoracic spine to the side that we are stretching. And then this, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. And that is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle, specifically the distal fibers. And then if we want to target the proximal fibers, everything is the exact same. Half kneeling, retroversion of pelvis, flat lumbar, flat thoracic. Project the thoracic rib cage out to the side, chin tucked in, crown of the head up, eyes looking down at the floor to put the dura mater under tension. Arm in line with the coronal plane. We're going to flex our arm, reach up over our shoulder, and then with the contralateral arm, we're going to reach behind the elbow and we are going to pull across. And this is the myofascial stretching exercise for the latissimus dorsi muscle, specifically the proximal fibers. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for achieving a teardrop backbend. If you would like to achieve a teardrop backbend, go ahead and give those exercises a try. And if you have given them a try, go ahead and drop your comments down in the comment section and let me know what you guys thought, if you tried them, and also have you improved. And also, if you guys have any issues with regard to foot or ankle pain, today at 2 o'clock p.m., I'm also going to be uploading the top 5 strengthening exercises for foot pain. Specifically, this is going to be for anybody with a pronated foot or flat feet. So if you do have issues with flat feet or ankle pain, foot pain, knee pain, hip pain, low back pain, check out that video. Again, that's going to be dropping today at 2 o'clock p.m. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.